Arrows in the sky. The battlefield was silent for a breath. Then the sky screamed. Arrows rained down like a storm, black shadows cutting through the air. The alien girl stood in the open ground, her golden eyes fixed on the danger above. She had fought many battles before, faced beasts with fangs like swords and storms that tore mountains apart. But this was different. This was death falling from the sky. Her people had fled, her allies had scattered. She alone stood proud, refusing to kneel. She was born a warrior, trained never to fear, and yet, as the arrows fell closer, even she felt the weight of despair. No shield, no wall, no escape. She clenched her claws, ready to meet death head-on. If this was the end, she would die standing. But then someone moved. A human stepped forward. His body was not large, not armored like hers. His skin was soft, his frame fragile. Compared to her kind, he looked weak, but his eyes burned with fire. Before she could stop him, he placed himself in front of her, arms spread wide. His body became her shield. The first arrow struck. Wood and steel tore into his flesh. Blood splashed across the dust. His body shook with pain, but he did not fall. He stood like stone. Each arrow piercing him, only making his stance stronger. The alien girl's eyes widened. Her heart thundered in her chest. She had seen bravery before, but never like this. This was not strategy, not duty. This was madness, or something far greater. Why? She whispered, her voice lost in the storm. He did not turn, did not answer. He only stood firm. Every arrow meant, for her now buried in his flesh, the reign of death continued. Arrows pierced his shoulders, his arms, his back. Still he did not fall. Still he stood. His body trembled. His breath came sharp, but his legs did not bend. She wanted to push him aside, to fight, to take the blows herself. But something in her froze. Something told her that this moment was not hers. It was his. The human gritted his teeth. His blood ran like rivers. But his voice, when it came, was steady. "You are safe," he said. Her claws trembled. Her eyes burned. Safe. No one had ever spoken that word to her. She had always been the shield, always the protector. But now, a fragile human bled for her. The storm of arrows slowed. The last shafts struck with dull thuds. Then silence, only the sound of wind. And his ragged breath remained. The human swayed, his body pierced with dozens of wounds. His blood dripped onto the ground, red against the gray dust. Yet somehow, he still stood. The alien girl reached out, catching his arm before he fell. Her claws were careful, afraid to break what was already broken. "You fool," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Why would you do this?" His eyes met hers, weak but burning with fire. "Because it was worth it," he whispered. Then his body collapsed against her. For the first time in her life, the alien girl felt something strange. A tightness in her chest, a heat behind her eyes. She had seen death, seen warriors fall, but never had anyone given their life for hers. She looked at him, lying in her arms. Arrows still lodged in his body, scars already forming. His face pale but calm, his breath shallow but alive. Alive against all odds, he lived. The battlefield was empty now. The enemies who loosed the arrows had fled. Perhaps they thought he was dead. Perhaps they thought she would soon join him, but she did not care. All she cared about was the fragile creature who had stood before death for her. Her pride cracked, her belief shattered. She had always thought humans were weak, soft, unworthy of fear or respect. But this one had proven her wrong with blood. She held him close, her voice low. "You should not exist, human," she whispered. "And yet, you do." The storm clouds parted above them. A faint light touched the battlefield. His scars were fresh, his body broken, but to her, they were marks of honor. She realized then that scars were not weakness, not shame. For him, they were proof of sacrifice, proof of something greater. And for the first time in her life, the alien girl felt fear not of death, not of the arrows, but of the truth. If one human could stand like this, what could an entire world of them do? The wounded protector. The battlefield was quiet now. Only the sound of wind carried across the broken ground. The storm of arrows had ended, but their scars remained. The alien girl sat on the cold earth, holding the human against her. His body was pierced in a dozen places, his blood soaking the dust, yet somehow he lived. His eyes were half closed, his breath shallow, his skin pale and broken, but still, his chest rose and fell. She had seen warriors die for less. Her own kind had fallen under smaller wounds, but this human, he clung to life with a strength she did not understand. Her claws trembled as she pulled one arrow from his shoulder. Blood gushed, and she pressed her hand to stop it. "You are mad," she whispered, her voice shaking. "No one does this. No one bleeds for another." The human's lips curved faintly. "Though pain burned in his eyes, humans do," he said weakly. The girl froze, her heart thudded. She did not know how to answer. She carried him away from the open ground to a broken ruin nearby. Once it had been a tower. Now only shattered walls remained. She laid him against the stone, tearing cloth from his tunic to bind his wounds. He watched her through heavy eyes. "You are not used to this?" he murmured. "No," she growled softly. "On my world, no one protects another. You fight for yourself. You survive for yourself. If someone falls, they fall alone." He coughed, blood staining his lips, but his smile did not fade. "Then maybe your world never knew what sacrifice means." She paused, her claws pressing into the stone beside him. Sacrifice. The word was strange, heavy. She had fought for survival, killed for power, endured for pride, but sacrifice. Giving pain, giving life. Not for yourself, but for someone else. It was madness. Yet here he was, bleeding, broken. Alive only because he had chosen to stand in front of her. She lowered her head, her voice soft. "Why me?" His eyes closed halfway, his voice no more than a whisper. "Because you needed it." Her chest tightened, her claws shook. She did not understand. Hours passed, the storm faded. Darkness fell. She kept watch while he lay beside the fire she had built. His wounds still bled, his body weak, but he endured. She studied him in silence. His hands were scarred, his skin burned. His body looked fragile compared to hers, yet inside him burned something stronger than any warrior she had known. When the fire cracked, he stirred. His voice was rough. "You look at me like I am strange? You are strange," she replied coldly, though her voice trembled. "You should be dead, yet you live. You should have run, yet you stayed. That is what humans do." He said simply, "We stay." She wanted to argue, to call him a fool, but the words would not come. Instead, she asked, "Why scars? Why take pain when you could avoid it?" The human's eyes flickered with fire, because scars remind us what we stand for. They tell stories. They are proof that pain has meaning. She stared at him. Her people saw scars as weakness, as shame, but for him, scars were honor. She whispered to herself, almost too soft to hear, "Worth every scar." Night grew deeper. Shadows stretched long across the ruins. The alien girl sat close, guarding him. She should have left. She should have walked away, but something bound her here. Stronger than duty, stronger than pride. Her thoughts spun. No one had ever done this for her. She had always been alone, feared, respected, but never loved. And now, a human she barely knew had nearly died for her. Her claws brushed the dirt. Her eyes narrowed. She hated the feeling inside her. It was not anger, not pride. Something softer, something dangerous. She feared it almost as much as she feared him. Near midnight, he stirred again, his voice weak. "You should rest." "I do not rest," she said firmly. "You should," he whispered. "I will be fine." She leaned closer, her eyes sharp. "You will not be fine. You are broken, bleeding, and weak, yet you smile. Why?" He opened his eyes, and though they were heavy with pain, they burned with fire still. "Because I did what mattered," he said. Her chest tightened. "Mattered." "Yes," he whispered. "Protecting you mattered. That was enough." She turned away quickly, afraid he might see her claws trembling. Afraid he might see her chest rising too fast. She had fought beasts without fear. But this human's words left her unsteady. She whispered into the dark, "Fool." But the word carried no anger. Only confusion. The fire burned low. His breath steadied. His wounds slowed their bleeding. He should have been dead, but he lived still. She sat beside him until dawn, her eyes never leaving his face, and as the first light touched the ruins, she knew one thing for certain. This human was not like any creature she had ever known. He was wounded, scarred, fragile, but inside him was something stronger than storms, stronger than steel, stronger than fear itself. He was human, and that was enough to terrify her. Scars of humanity. The fire crackled low inside the broken tower. Shadows stretched long across the stone walls. The alien girl sat silently, her golden eyes fixed on the wounded human resting against the wall. He had survived the storm of arrows, survived wounds that should have killed him, even now with his body broken. His spirit remained steady. She could not look away. Her people saw scars as weakness. They were marks of failure, proof that you had been too slow, too weak, too unworthy. But as she looked at the arrow's wounds on his skin, at the cuts that marked his arms and chest, she felt something strange. These were not weakness, they were something else. The human stirred, his breath still heavy, but his eyes opened slowly, catching hers. "You keep staring," he said softly. She looked away quickly, her claws scratching the stone. "I am not staring," she hissed. He gave a faint smile, though blood still stained his lips. "Yes, you are. You are studying me, like I am a puzzle." "You are a puzzle," she growled, turning back toward him. "You should be dead. You should not exist. And yet you live. You stand, you bleed, and still smile." The human's eyes glowed faintly in the firelight. "Maybe that is what makes us human." She tilted her head. Curious, despite herself. "Explain." He lifted a hand, trembling from weakness, and tapped the scar across his shoulder. "Every scar tells a story. Every scar is proof that we survived. Humans do not hide our scars. We keep them. We remember them. We carry them." Her claws dug into her knees. "But scars are shame. They mean you failed." He shook his head slowly. "Not for us. For us, scars are honor. They mean we were tested, and we did not fall. They mean the world tried to break us, and we refused." His words sank into her chest like knives. She wanted to deny them, to laugh, to call him foolish. But something inside her trembled. She thought of her own scars hidden, hated, reminders of pain she had survived. She had always covered them, always believed they were signs of weakness. Yet here he was, treating them as treasures. She whispered, almost against her will, "Worth every scar." The human's lips curved again. "Yes, worth every scar," he said, his voice weak but steady. For a moment, silence stretched between them. The fire cracked, the wind howled through the broken stones. Then the girl asked, "How many scars do you carry?" The human's eyes darkened. His hand traced his chest, his arms, his face. "Too many to count," he said quietly, "from battles, from beasts, from my own world. Earth is not gentle. It leaves marks on everyone. Tell me," she demanded, leaning closer, her eyes burning. Tell me about them." The human closed his eyes. Breathing deep, "This scar," he said, pointing to his ribs. "A beast on my world, small but deadly. Its bite filled me with poison. I should have died, but I lived." He pointed to his arm, where an old mark stretched along the muscle. "This one, fire, a storm that burned everything. I ran through it to save another. I carried them on my back. The flames marked me forever. But they lived. That was enough." Her chest tightened. She had never heard anyone speak like this. Every wound tied not to failure, but to survival. Then he touched the side of his neck, where a deep scar curved, and this one. War. Humans fight not only beasts, but each other, sometimes for survival. Sometimes for power. I almost died there, but I walked away, and that scar reminds me that life is fragile. That it can be taken in a blink, so every breath after is a gift. The alien girl's claws curled tight. Her people did not speak of weakness. They buried it, hid it, but this human laid his wounds bare as if they were medals. It unsettled her, it frightened her, it fascinated her. Finally, she asked, "Why do you endure so much pain? Why not give up?" His eyes opened, sharp and burning despite the blood and wounds. Because humans do not give up. We endure no matter the cost, no matter the scars. Because every time we survive, we prove that nothing, not the world, not the stars, not even death itself can break us. Her heart pounded. Her pride whispered to reject his words, but her soul could not. This fragile creature, this human, Allah, had endured more than even she could imagine. The fire burned low. The human leaned back against the stone, closing his eyes, his breath steadied. His voice came softer now. "Scars are not the end of the story. They are the beginning. They are the proof that we lived." The alien girl sat frozen, staring at him. The words echoed in her mind, breaking everything she had believed. For her, scars had always been reminders of shame, of failure, of weakness. But for him, scars were proof of survival, proof of strength, proof of meaning. And in that moment, she realized something terrifying. If one human carried so many scars, if one human had endured so much, then what of billions? Her claws shook, her eyes narrowed. She whispered into the silence, "If all humans carry scars like yours, then the galaxy is not ready." The human opened one eye, his lips curving faintly. "Then the galaxy should prepare," he said. She looked away quickly, but her chest trembled for the first time. She was not sure if she feared him, or if she admired him, maybe both. That night, she did not sleep. She sat beside him, listening to the fire crack, watching his scars in the flickering light, and for the first time in her life, the alien girl felt small, because her greatest fear was no longer dying, no longer loneliness, no longer storms or beasts. Her greatest fear was that she was not the strongest. Her greatest fear was that humanity existed, and they carried scars worth more than any power in the galaxy. The alien girls doubt the ruins were quiet, the fire only glowing as red embers. The alien girl sat with her back against the wall, her eyes fixed on the wounded human sleeping. Near her, his breath was slow, his body broken, his skin marked with scars, and yet he lived. She could not understand it. Her kind were strong, their bodies built for war, their claws like blades, but even they would have fallen under such wounds. Even they would have surrendered to death. He was fragile, thin, weak in appearance, and still he had survived the storm of arrows. Her golden eyes narrowed, her mind spun. She did not know what unsettled her more, his weakness or his strength. She remembered the way he had stood before her, body pierced, blood spilling, refusing to fall. She remembered his words, "You are safe. That is enough." Safe. No one had ever spoken that word to her. Her life had never been safe. Her world had never been safe. And yet, this human, this strange, fragile creature had given his life for hers. Why? She whispered into the dark. Why do you fight? For me? Why not fight for yourself? But he did not answer. His eyes remained closed, his chest rising and falling like the rhythm of a drum. Doubt gnawed at her heart. He was a mystery she could not solve. For her strength was claws, power, pride. But for him, strength seemed to be something else, something invisible, something she could not touch. And that frightened her, because if strength could not be seen, how could it be measured? Her claws? Dug into the stone floor, she wanted to believe he was nothing. Just a fool, a weakling who got lucky. But the memory of his fire, of his eyes glowing in the storm, would not leave her. Maybe humans were stronger than she wanted to admit. And that thought kept her awake all night. At dawn, the ground shook. The alien girl snapped her head up. Her claws ready, the human stirred, opening his eyes. What is it? He asked weakly. Raiders. She hissed. Her ears caught the sound of ships, the thunder of engines, the echo of armored boots. He tried to rise, but his body was still broken. How many? Too many, she growled. More than before. Her chest tightened. She had fought raiders before, but never while protecting someone else. Never while carrying doubt inside her. The raiders appeared through the broken walls, armored, armed. Their voices shouting, their leader sneered when he saw her. The beast girl, he growled. Worth a fortune, dead or alive. The alien girl rose to her full height. Claws flashing, her eyes burning. Come and try, she hissed. The raiders laughed, weapons raised. She glanced at the human, who was struggling to stand. Stay down, she ordered. You cannot fight. Not like this. But his eyes met hers. Fire still burning inside them. I will not stay down, he said. Her claws trembled. She wanted to scream at him, to force him to rest. But something in his gaze stopped her. The battle began. Blasts of plasma lit the ruins. The alien girl leaped into the fight, her claws tearing through armor. Her speed like lightning. She was a storm, a predator. Every movement designed to kill, but there were too many. Shots grazed her, heat burned her flesh, blood marked her arms, and then she saw him. The human, wounded and weak, had risen. His body shook with pain, but his hands gripped his weapon tight. His eyes burned, his face calm. He fired, precise and deadly. Raiders fell with every shot. She froze for a moment. Watching him, he should not be able to stand, but he fought, not like a survivor clinging to life, but like a warrior refusing to fall. Her heart pounded. She slashed through another raider, but her eyes kept turning back to him. He bled, but he did not stop. His body staggered, but his will did not. The raiders tried to surround him, but he adapted, moving between the broken stones, using shadows, using debris. Turning the ruins themselves into his ally, she realized, with a shiver, that the battlefield itself seemed to bend to him. The alien girl roared, tearing through two more raiders. Her breath came sharp, her chest heavy, but inside her burned confusion. How? She thought. How can he fight like this, broken, bleeding? She had always believed strength was in the body, but watching him, she realized his strength came from somewhere else. Not muscles, not claws, but will. And that made him terrifying. The raider leader stepped forward, his armor black and sharp, his weapon glowing with stolen power. He sneered at the human. You should be dead already, fragile creature. The human raised his weapon, blood dripping down his arm. His voice was calm, steady. Not today. The alien girl's breath caught. Her claws froze. That voice, it was not weak. It was not broken. It was unshakable. The leader roared and charged. The human met him head-on. Their clash shook the ruins. The alien girl leaped to his side. Claws flashing, together they struck. Together they fought. When it ended, the leader lay broken. On the ground, his army scattered, fleeing into the storm. Silence fell again. Only the crackle of fire and the heavy breathing of the human and the alien girl remained. She turned to him, her eyes wide, her claws trembling, her chest full of doubt, fear, and something more. "You should not be able to fight," she whispered. "And yet you do. You should not stand. And yet you rise." He looked at her, calm despite the blood, his voice low but steady. "Because that is what humans do." Her heart thundered, her claws dug into her palms, and she knew, with dread and awe, that her doubt was no longer about him. Her doubt was about herself. Because for the first time in her life, she was no longer sure she was the strongest. The humans stand. The ruins still smoked from the last battle. Broken weapons lay scattered on the ground, blood soaking into the dust. The alien girl leaned against the stone wall, her claws trembling, her chest rose and fell, each breath sharp. She had fought all her life. She had bled. She had endured. But never had she seen anything like the human. He stood only a few steps away, his body broken, his skin torn with wounds, yet his back was straight, his weapons steady, his eyes glowing. With fire, her voice was low, almost a whisper. "You should not be alive." He turned his head, and though his face was pale, his lips curved faintly. "But I am." She clenched her claws. Her pride wanted to deny what she had seen, but her heart whispered the truth. This fragile creature was not weak. He was terrifying, and still, part of her could not look away. By nightfall, the storm returned. Dark clouds swallowed the stars. The wind screamed through the ruins. Lightning lit the sky in violent flashes. The girl crouched at the edge of the tower, scanning the horizon. She felt them before she saw them. Raiders, again. But this time, it was not a handful. It was not a small army. It was an invasion. Dozens of ships burned through the sky, dropping warriors into the valley below. Their engines thundered. Their weapons glowed. The air trembled with their rage. Her claws clenched. Her heart raced. She had fought much before, but this was different. This was too many. Even she could not stand against them all. She turned to the human. "We must run," she hissed, but his eyes met hers, steady and sharp. "No," he said calmly. "We stand." Her jaw tightened. "You are broken. You cannot fight them." He gripped his weapon tighter, blood dripping from his arm. "Then I will fight until I fall." Her chest burned. Why? Why keep fighting when death is certain? His eyes glowed in the stormlight. Because giving up is worse than death. The first raiders struck. Plasma fire ripped across the ruins. The ground exploded. The tower shook. The alien girl leaped forward, her claws slashing through two enemies at once. Blood sprayed, armor cracked. Her roar echoed in the storm. Behind her, the human fired, every shot precise, every move deliberate. Even bleeding, even shaking, he fought with a calm that chilled. He moved through the chaos like he belonged in it, using the shadows, the broken stones, the fire. Everything became a weapon in his hands. She watched him between her strikes, her chest heavy. He should have fallen long ago, but he did not. He was broken, but he stood. More raiders poured in, screaming, their weapons glowing red. The alien girl was surrounded. For a heartbeat, she thought it was the end. Then he was there, the human, charging through the fire, his weapon empty now. But his fists were steel. He struck one raider, breaking bone with a single blow. He caught another's blade with his bare hands, blood pouring, and twisted it away, driving it back into the enemy's chest. Her eyes widened. He fought like a beast, not with claws or teeth, but with something deeper. Something primal, will. The kind of will that refused to die, no matter the cost. She fought beside him, claw and fire. His silence unsettled her. He did not roar, did not scream, did not boast. He fought in silence, every motion efficient, every strike final. The raiders screamed, but he did not. She realized then that silence was more terrifying than any war cry. Hours passed, the battle did not end. The ground was littered with bodies, the air thick with smoke. The girl's claws ached. Her body burned with wounds, but still the human fought. His legs shook. His chest bled, but he stood again and again. His eyes never breaking, his will never bending. The alien girl felt something she had never felt before. Just fear. Not just awe, but something deeper, something dangerous. Respect. The raider leader finally appeared, a giant in black armor. His weapon a massive blade burning with plasma. His voice roared across the battlefield. Fall, both of you. You are nothing against us. The alien girl crouched low, her claws ready. But before she could strike, the human stepped forward. Her eyes widened. No. She hissed, you cannot. But he did not stop. His voice carried through the storm. Calm, steady, burning. We are not nothing. The leader swung the blade. The human caught it with both hands. Blood pouring, his arms trembled, but he did not let go. The alien girl leaped forward, claws flashing. Together they struck. Her claws ripped into armor. His fist shattered the leader's mask. Blood sprayed. The giant fell. Silence. The surviving raiders hesitated. Then they fled. Ships rising into the storm, engines roaring as they vanished into the dark. The battlefield was theirs. The alien girl stood in the ruins, her breath ragged, her claws dripping. She turned to the human. He stood in the center. Bloodied, broken, yet still upright. His chest rose and fell slowly. His eyes burned with fire. Her voice trembled. You should not stand. And yet you do. You should not fight. And yet you win. He looked at her, his face pale, his body weak. But his voice was strong, because that is what humans do. Her claws curled against her chest. Her pride cracked. Her heart thundered. She had always believed strength was claws. Storm's pride. But tonight, she had seen something greater. Strength was not the body. Strength was not the scars. Strength was the will that refused to fall. And in that moment, the alien girl finally understood. Her greatest fear was never death. Never loneliness, never the storms of her world. Her greatest fear was humanity, because if one human could stand like this, then what could billions do? Priceless reward. The battlefield was silent again. Smoke drifted across the ruins. Bodies of raiders lay broken among shattered stone. The alien girl stood still, her claws dripping, her chest burning with every breath. She turned slowly, and her golden eyes fell on him, the human. He stood in the middle of the ruins, his body broken, his skin torn, his blood marking the ground like trails of fire. Yet he did not fall. His back was straight, his weapon lowered. His eyes burning with that same unshakable fire. For a long moment, she could not breathe. This fragile creature, this soft-skinned being she once thought weak, had done what no one else could. He had stood before death, again and again, and refused to fall. Her claws trembled, her pride cracked. Her heart thundered. She whispered, almost to herself, you should not exist. His head turned, his lips faintly curved, and yet I do. They moved slowly back into the ruins. The firelight glowed against the broken walls. The alien girl bound his wounds with strips of cloth, her claws careful, her eyes never leaving his face. You are a fool, she muttered, though her voice shook. You fight until your body is broken. You bleed until the ground drinks your life. Why? He winced as she tied another wound, but his voice was calm, Because it matters. What matters? She demanded. He met her gaze, his eyes steady. You, her claws froze, her breath caught. Her chest tightened. No one had ever said such a thing to her. Not her people, not her enemies. No one. You bled for me, she whispered. Why? His voice was low, but clear. Because you were worth it. She pulled her hand back quickly. Her claws dug into her own palm. She hated the heat rising in her chest, hated the trembling in her claws. She was a warrior, a survivor, she feared. Nothing but this human, this wounded protector, terrified her. Not because he was stronger, but because he cared. She could fight storms, beasts, armies, but she could not fight the warmth in his eyes. The night deepened, the fire burned low, the human rested. But she stayed awake, watching him. Her thoughts spun like storms. She remembered his words about scars, how they were honor, proof of survival, proof of meaning. She looked at his body. Now covered in wounds, painted with blood, marked by pain, and yet, to her, those scars were no longer ugly, no longer weakness. They were beauty. They were truth. Every scar was proof that he had chosen to stand for her. Her claws pressed against her chest. Her eyes burned. For the first time in her life, she wanted to give something back. At dawn, the human stirred. His eyes opened slowly, meeting hers. You should rest, he whispered. His voice rough. I do not rest, she said firmly. He gave that faint, maddening smile. Of course not. Silence stretched. Then, without thinking, she said the words. You risked everything for me. I owe you. His eyes narrowed faintly. Owe me? No. You owe me nothing. Her claws flexed. No, she said. Louder this time, I do. On my world, debts are sacred. And this debt is greater than any I have known. He shook his head slowly. Then let it be no debt. Let it be a choice. A choice. She whispered, yes, he said softly. Not because you owe me, not because of scars, but because you want to. Her chest tightened, her breath trembled. She looked away quickly. Want. The word echoed in her mind like thunder. That day, they did not fight. They walked together through the ruins. Through the valley scarred by storms, he leaned on her at times, weak from blood loss, but his eyes never dimmed.